One of the biggest changes between our generation and our parents' generation is our generation is willing to go to millennials to learn about the technology, become more digitally native. I was talking to, I do some work with the IDM, and one of the things we're talking about is what's called a reverse mentorship, where an old part like me goes and hangs out with a young person to learn about all the new tech, all the new thinking that's going on. I don't think my dad would have ever done that, right? So I think that's a fundamental difference. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you about basically take everything that Dan just said and kind of give you a way to deliver that, a way to do that. And the first thing I want to talk about is you are at an email service provider and you're sitting there going, well, email is dead, right? Email died a long time ago. Nobody's paying attention to it. We all know it's dead. Problem is, marketers love shiny new things. And every time there's a shiny new thing, somebody comes up, writes a blog or an article that says, this will kill email. I've been in email 20 years. Clearly, I'm not a millennial. And it hasn't died. And I'm going to give you some reasons why it hasn't died and some proof that it isn't dead. So first off, let's start with this research from the DMA. Now they're rerunning it now, so I don't have this year's stats yet. But email is the most popular channel in the UK to maintain relationships with brands across all age groups, including these millennials that we keep talking about. I hate whenever anybody uses the term millennial. I always want to kind of just get up and walk out of the room. It's such a buzzword. You got to worry about millennials. No. You got to worry about customers. You got to worry about people. Millennials, as freakish as they may be, are people too. Right? They put their trousers on one leg at a time, and okay, they have better hair than I do, or hair, but you know. And no, they don't use email to maintain relationships with friends or family. But we're brands. We're not a friend and we're not family. And you take it to B2B, and now we're even one more step removed, right? Very few people are going to have affinity with a B2B brand, right? We did a thing a few years ago. This is a marketing idea. It seemed like a good one. It went horribly, horribly wrong. So sign up for a free dotmailer trial account, and we will send you a hideous, I mean these things were horribly ugly, pink t-shirt with a slightly tongue-in-cheek, slightly risque slogan about email on it, right? We ordered, I think, 200. Actually, probably 300 because we gave away 100 to staff, right? First day, 20,000 trial accounts. And we're like, hang on, what's going on? Somebody saw a free t-shirt and put it on one of those deal sites. Now I'm like, how sad does your life have to be? An ugly pink t-shirt for free, you're going to sign up for an email service provider, right? We already talked about the millennials are doing the shopping, the millennials are doing the buying. They're people, and they're consumers. Just because they might be wearing a groovy hipster tie and have a great beard does not mean they're going to buy any differently. And they don't want to buy any differently at work than they do at home. Second reason the email is not dead. It delivers the highest ROI. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One, cost of delivering any individual email message is literally SFA. But also, it's one of the few channels where you have, it's like blackjack. Emails, I just thought of this. Email is the blackjack of the marketing world. Because it learns. And it learns over time, right? And the more you email, the more you learn, the better your emails get, the more of a relationship you build. It's also one of the few channels where you own most of the delivery stream. So you don't own it all, and we'll get into that if anyone wants to later. But Google changes an algorithm and your PPC goes in the toilet, right? Facebook changes an algorithm and suddenly your adverts aren't being seen. Twitter changes an algorithm, you get the idea. Email's technology is pre-Apollo, right? You could have managed all of the email ever sent, probably up until about 3 years ago, on, like, this could be your email server, right? That's how basic the technology is. There's no algorithm to change. So you own the delivery channel, which means you have much better control over what you're delivering. Email is the digital key. For those of you who are a bit older, non-millennials, like us, we've probably been talking for 20 years about single view of customer. Every CRM, we're going to deliver single view of customer. When I moved to California in the 90s, everybody was talking about single view of customer. And nobody's ever been able to pull it off. Nobody's ever been able to deliver it. But the cool thing about email is this. Everybody has one. And in the B2B space, everybody literally only has one. And they're willing to give it to you. You know, even in the B2C space, most UK consumers have 1 or 2 email addresses. The people that have 2 have a work one and a personal one, and or a personal one and a marketing one. So they've only got 1 email address that they can give you in a e-commerce setting, and they will. More people give you an email address, probably more people know their email address than even know their own phone number. Definitely their home phone number. So, what are some of the, there we go. Now it's going to jump too probably. So what are some of the tactics you ought to be looking at? Well, before we get into the specific tactics, one of the things that hasn't really been touched on yet today, but is really, really a big thing for us, is it is really, really, really easy to plan yourself into doing nothing, right? Give you a little bit of a story. We do email marketing. We probably ought to have an email marketing automation program. So this is probably 5-6 years ago. I got the marketing team in our conference room down in Croydon, and we literally covered a wall, probably the whole width of this room, with what our automation program was going to look like. It had something like 47 different end nodes. And there was a lovely woman in our marketing department at the time, and she kind of sat in the corner all day and didn't really say much. And we got towards the end of the session, and I was trying to make sure everybody was buying into this and it was all inclusive. So I said to her, "What do you think?" And she's like, "Skip, that's great. I don't have time to keep up with the work I'm doing now. When am I going to write 47 different emails?" Oh, I hadn't thought of that. So, definitely, think big. Think big. Don't be afraid, get that plan out there. But figure out a way that you can start small. Start small. I'm going to start pushing the button early. And scale quickly. So, let me give you a quick example of how that might work, and then we're going to get into some of those specific tactics. So, you're going to start with some automation, right? All you're going to do is you've got a start condition, a campaign, and an exit. That's starting small, right? That's phase 1. Let's say this is your welcome program. Somebody signed up for your list. You send them a, "Hey, thanks for signing up for our list." That's it, right? Next week, you've got the thank you, but then we add a 1-day delay in, and we add in a, "Let me tell you a little bit more about our business. Let me tell you a little bit more about our offering, what other services we offer, or what our returns policy is, or whatever it happens to be." The next day, or next week, so we've still got the thank you, we've got the delay, but maybe we create a rule. Which channel did they come in from? Or which page did they sign up on? Or what product were they interested in? Or whatever. And we give them a different follow-up campaign. Maybe one person came in, wants our self-serve business, so let's talk about that. Another person came in, and based on the page they were on, or the form they used, they want services, so let's talk about that. And then the 4th phase, so 1 month after, less than a month after we set this whole thing up, we want to do some testing, right? And instead, testing is life. So we put a random split in, and we give people 2 different journeys, so we can test the different paths. So we started really simple. We got something done. We got something working. And we built upon that. But before we get into automation, we need to think about what's the goal? What's the objective, and how are we going to measure it? So, given the slowness that the builds have been happening, I'm just going to try to build this all out. But if we're trying to increase brand awareness, then we're going to be looking at, how much time were they on site? Did they click through from the email and get to the site? And if they did, how long were they there? How many pages did they view? Did they abandon? If we want to introduce a breadth of service, how many page categories did they go to? Right? We said we got a wide variety of services. Did they check them all out? If we want to capture additional data, then first we need to know where our gaps in our data are and how quickly are we filling them. I'm not going to talk about increasing ROI. You guys should all get that. Reducing the sales cycle, right? This process ought to reduce our sales cycle. It ought to shorten the time between when a cold lead comes in and when they become a marketing qualified lead, a sales qualified lead, and a customer. If we have a benchmark before that, that's really easy to measure. And this last one, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this today, but this one's critical. Reducing marketing effort. When we talk about automation, right, we always think of customer does this, and I'm going to deliver that. We very rarely talk about up here, upstream automation. What can I do to shorten the time it takes me to build a campaign? What can I do to reduce the workload? I did a session yesterday, we were talking about this very thing, and I asked how many people were planning on sending emails between Christmas and New Year's. What about you guys? Any emails between Christmas and New Year's? Does anybody want to work between Christmas and New Year's? No. A little bit of scheduling, happy days, upstream automation. Or, how does Amazon deliver on those recommendations? They use external dynamic content. You don't think there's somebody building each individual, think about the product range that Amazon has. How many different combinations and permutations of emails could they come up with? The number is staggering, right? They're not creating each one individually. They're going off and grabbing the same recommendations that are on the website, pulling them into the email. I disagree that Amazon's doing it right, because they almost got too much. I'm a bit of a cyclist, not that you can tell, but I'm a bit of a cyclist, and I bought these little plasticine bags, which realistically, the only other customers for these got to be drug dealers. So first off, Amazon is now trying to figure out how that changes their view of me. But I use them just so everybody's fine. I use them to keep the isotonic tabs in, so I can refill my water bottle halfway through a ride. And the tab, if you sweat, the tabs get wet, they fizz in your pocket, and it's not good. So, but now I'm getting all these recommendations for different size Ziploc plasticine bags. Like, there's one that is literally body size. And I'm like, that makes sense, right? Clearly this person's a drug dealer, and most drug dealers, they kill people to get rid of competitors, so there you go, you'll need these. Bulk discount, happy days. So, there's probably some refinement that can be done there. All right, so what are some of these tactics you ought to be doing? I'm going to start off with a welcome program. A, it's simple. It's a great way to get started, a great way to keep it simple. And B, it's just a nice thing to do. Now, we've already determined that most of the people in here are not millennials. So I'm going to make this leap of faith and be very, very, very stereotypical and assume that most of us are not hanging out in clubs very often. Or places where you can meet random people with whom you may want to start a relationship. I've been reliably informed by the millennials in this business that there is a very finite window of time when it's appropriate to communicate with a young lady who's given you their number. You text her too quickly, you're too keen, you're never gonna get anywhere there. But if you wait too long, well, clearly you don't care. And the conversations that I overhear about, well, I gave him my number on Saturday. What time? Well, it's actually probably Sunday morning about 3. Well, it's only 9 on Monday. He's got 4 more hours. 4 more hours? Jeez! A really finite time. You meet somebody new, you want to get to know them. you want them to get to know you. You don't want to sell straight away. So this is an example from Mentorship, which is a software tool that allows you to do what are these things? Floor plans. And so their program is quite long. But the first thing they do is they say thank you, and they introduce themselves. What do we do? How can we help you? They highlight features of the software. Next, this is why you signed up. This is why you started your free trial. And this welcome program comes on the back of a free trial. The next thing is, yeah, this stuff is a little complicated. Don't worry, we've got training, we've got support, we're here to help you. And then they start talking about other products and services. So you got the free trial, you're into it. Now, how are we going to take that one step further? And last but not least, your free trial's over. Send us some money. Right? Pretty simple process. But you can totally see how that could have been started easy. The easy way to start that is, thanks for signing up. Then they can start adding an additional layer week after week after week. Another thing, if you sell products that run out, and most of us do, right, at some point, okay, we don't, but most people do, if you sell like a product that comes in a thing, think about replenishment. Now, how many of you have seen one of these, or have one of these? You've got one?
No, I've seen it.
Okay. So this is the Amazon Dash buttons. This is their collection, a collection of their buttons. I don't know if this is the current collection, but this is one stop, one button shopping. So we aren't even going to require you to have a device with you. You just put the button where you might need it. You push the button and stuff arrives. And they say, although I don't necessarily believe this, right? Because I don't know how many of you have kids, but I have this image of a 5-year-old that's going, and the next day this lorry pulls up with like a lorry full of Tide washing powder, and you're like, but this is really helpful. I'm out of this. I need it. Put the button where the people are. So replenishment emails, first and foremost, position it as, I am helping you. Yeah, of course I'm trying to get more sales. I mean, don't hide that fact. But it is a benefit to the consumer. It's a benefit to your customer. It's also a benefit to you because it shortens the time between purchases. It's going to increase your average order value. And it deepens relationships. So this is Ellison's, and they sell beauty products to salons. So not only are they pushing, hey, make sure you've got the product in stock to sell to your customers, but you may not have bought some of these, so we're going to show you the entire product range. When they take it one step further, they get rid of the animated GIF, and they can start to say, now currently this is what you normally buy, have you thought about these other products as well? We talked a little bit about loyalty earlier. Loyalty is an interesting one in that most people, if you ask customers, will you sign up for a loyalty program? They're like, yeah, because I want the free stuff, right? But they do ultimately build in loyalty. How many of you fly a lot for business? So I am actually really gutted. I went, as I said, I'm a cyclist, and I went out for a bike ride one day this summer, back in the spring, and my wife booked a holiday, just the two of us. My daughter was at summer camp, it was great, don't get me wrong, but because of the date she wanted to go, we couldn't fly on the airline where I've got all my points. So I flew probably 20,000 miles this summer and got points on another airline, which isn't enough to give me any status there, but I'm going to lose my gold status over here. And so what's that mean? I lose the lounge. Now, is this the best airline ever? No. Is it the cheapest airline ever? No. Do I grumble about them all the time? Yes. But for that lounge, man, You know, I'll fly standing in the back. Double miles if you sit in the loop, fine, I'm in. So loyalty does build in repeat business. But I think calling it loyalty is a bit, it's really a big misnomer. What I would say is, so this is a food service company. They do a very good job of keeping their loyalty program separate from their main newsletter. It's got its own brand, which gives them, among other things, an additional opportunity to speak with the customers. Because now I can send you my branded message, and I can send you my loyalty message. So it gives you the opportunity to increase your email cadence, which is really, really important. Most email marketers, when you say, hey, let's increase the cadence, will say, I don't want to bother people. Okay, so the people that opened the last one, maybe they don't get this one. But the people that didn't open it, and they didn't see it, you're not bothering them. They didn't see the first one, right? And every time you send an email, you will make more money. We talked a bit about reviews and how important reviews can be. One of the things about reviews that we haven't touched on yet is by reading the reviews, you learn the language that your consumers use to talk about your product. And this is actually quite powerful. I was working with a client a few years ago, and they ranked really high for search terms. But it wasn't equating into business. And it turns out they're ranking really high for search terms that their customers weren't using. Right? So it's about how do people refer to you? How do they refer to the product? And making sure you rank for those terms. But also, it allows you to demonstrate that you're listening and you care. Right? You will get complaints. You will get negative reviews. Everybody does. It's a bit like being married. If you go through an entire marriage without an argument, you're clearly not trying very hard. Or trying at all. So, it's how do you say, oh, I'm sorry, darling. That's what reviews allow you to do in a B2B context. Right. So, lapsed customers. Customers walk away. They drift away. Now, so you need to have a program for lapsed customers. The first thing you need to do is get them back. Now here's the problem. Once you get them back, you can't put them back into the same communication stream they were in before. That clearly didn't work. Right? What did Einstein say? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result each time is the definition of insanity. So we need to come up with something new and different to say, or we need to come up with a new and different way to say it. The other thing about lapsed customers is you need to look at both purchasers and how they engage with your email. So on the purchasing front, that's pretty straightforward. But what you'll see is that there will be a bunch of people that are buying and not opening your email. What do I do with those guys? Do I stop emailing them? Well, maybe, maybe not. What you might want to look at first is, do they buy? Is their buying behavior correlated with when you send emails? So a B2C example on this is Odeon Cinemas. They send out a weekly email, what's on at your cinema? And in that weekly email, they don't necessarily get a hugely great response rate. But most of the recipients do go to the website, and many go on to buy. Because they see the email, and they're like, well, the email's going to tell me what's on, but I can't buy from the email, so I might as well just go right to the website. If there's something I don't want to see, I'll just go ahead and buy the ticket. Consumers know to skip that step. Okay. Post-sale. Now, I don't usually try to beg for plaudits, but I think I've done a pretty good job. Usually, when I do a B2B, or a presentation that isn't aimed at B2B, I come out and I start by saying, B2B is really just like B2C, so I'm going to show you a lot of B2C examples, but there's the B2B equivalent. And I got through like 5 showing B2B examples. And then we got to post-sale. And I found a couple, they're kind of dull. And if you notice, the emails I've showed so far are kind of dull. We get this mindset that we're a B2B brand, which means we have to be boring. We don't have to be boring. Our consumers aren't boring. Our customers aren't boring. And guess what? Going back to the two-screen scenario, you are competing against all the best retail brands for their attention. Sure, they may be getting the retail emails in their personal inbox and your emails in their corporate inbox, but when they're in a buying mode and they go to your email and they're just like, oh, it's pants. Apple's is better. Abercrombie & Fitch is better. Habitats is better. Remember, pick a brand. That's who you're competing against. So don't think that you're competing against the other company in your space that sells what you sell. You're competing against them too, but you're also competing against a lot of other people. So, this is an example from Victoria Plum. One of my colleagues is redoing her bathroom. I recently redid my house. She and I have been trading, war stories about doing all that. This is a great example of starting simple. So Lily's bought loads of stuff from them. They don't mention any of it in the email. Hopefully they will one day. But it's just, hey, thanks for buying. What can we do to help? Here's some aftercare, after-sales support. You can use it to enhance the out-of-the-box experience, right? If you know when something's going to be delivered, make sure the email arrives the same day. Hey, your order should be delivered today. Make sure, let us come. We'll get to feedback. Well, hang on. We talked about feedback already for reviews, but give us a review. Let us know if the delivery went okay. Was the driver nice? Was he pleasant? Did he smell? Whatever. And obviously, you can use it to upsell and cross-sell. And last but not least, abandoned cart, abandoned browse, abandoned form, whatever it happens to be. People come to your website and they start to do something, and then they leave. You would never let somebody come into your shop, start to do something, and then walk out without going over and saying, this is something I can do to help you. Are you looking for something? Or if you would, then probably commerce isn't your bag and you should think about a different career. So here's some examples of abandoned carts. Again, these are some B2C examples because they're pretty and colorful. And on brand. So this is one from Lush. Hey, we still got your stuff, right? Made is a little bit different. Again, still on brand, but it's a little bit more standoffish. Made is not really a, hey, we got some stuff kind of brand. Ralph Lauren, again, what you can see here is with these two, very plain, not a lot of distraction, what products are in the basket, really clear call to action on how to fulfill on that, how to close the basket or provide the basket. And these are all like one-step processes. And here's an example from, okay, I always struggle with this. As an American, and this is an American brand, it's Nike. It's not Nike. You've been taught wrong. But here's a two-step process where softly in the first one, and then a little bit more hardcore in the second one. We're building an abandoned basket program for one of our clients, and one of the things they've noticed is their highest converting time is Sunday evenings. So we're actually going to do a three-step program. The third one is going to go Sunday afternoon, right? The next Sunday afternoon from when they created the basket, because we know that's their best converting time. So, what are some key takeaways? So the first three, always set some objectives and make sure you have a way to measure it. Start small but scale quickly. And if you can only do one, these are probably or you can only do three. These are where you should focus your efforts. One last key takeaway though, before I turn it over for questions, is we've been talking for about the last hour on ultimately you're dealing with consumers, you should act more like a consumer brand, that kind of thing. And I saw, when I was doing some research for this, Screwfix had actually done a Black Friday offer. Don't do that. You're not that consumer. I mean, I apologize, first off. Black Friday was never supposed to be exported. right? It makes sense in America. We've got a holiday, and then we've got a day that's everybody goes back to work, but nobody really wants to go back to work. And what's a good excuse not to go back to work? Go shopping, right? That totally makes sense. In this country, Black Friday is just a random Friday where everybody buys stuff for themselves. So, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I hope we don't give you Trump as well. Although you gave us Nigel Farage, so. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks.